Teresa Carolina, muchísimas gracias.
Thank you for reminding us that the greatest victories are not always measured in medals. Very often they are measured in the ability to rise again. And now comes the moment we've all been waiting for. The moment to listen to you, to hear a word that will help us continue looking farther and higher. Your Holiness, the floor is yours. Dear friends, it's a pleasure to be with you in this place that not only welcomes sporting, artistic, and cultural events, but also the deepest emotions of human beings: joy and admiration, enthusiasm and hope, as well as sadness and frustration. In this beautiful country, it is impossible not to admire the creative spirit that runs through its history and shapes its identity. A beauty that is evident in its cities, in its streets and monuments, in its squares and gardens, in its universities and churches, in its music, painting and dance, and in its cuisine. Here too, here, one senses the spirit of the generations who transformed the landscape and gave it a character of its own. And this reveals to us in every detail the intelligence and determination that dwell in the human spirit. After carefully considering these wonders created by previous generations, a question inevitably arises that challenges us all. What legacy are we leaving for the future? And by extension, what kind of community are we building? I have listened intently to each of the panelists' contributions, and I agree with you. Our society does indeed possess an extraordinary capacity to produce, innovate, and communicate. However, it seems we still need to learn how to safeguard the soul of what it generates. Otherwise, we run the risk of becoming experts in the media and effective producers, yet uncertain as to why, for what purpose, with whom and for whom we produce. In this context, the Church, mindful of both its successes and its errors throughout history, longs to remain in dialogue with the contemporary world. The desire for goodness, beauty, and truth is rooted in the very DNA of humanity. It's on the basis of this profoundly human aspiration and our centuries-old experience that the Church proposes paths towards a life of dignity and the common good. In this regard, St. Paul VI affirmed before the United Nations that whatever one's opinion of the Roman pontiff may be, his mission is well known. As an expert in humanity, the Church does not turn a blind eye to anything truly human.
Por esta razón,
For this reason,
actitud de diálogo
openness to dialogue is an integral part of the Church's vocation. Today we confirm that the decisive question remains the same. What does it mean to be truly human? With humility and conviction, the Church shares what she has discovered through the experience of faith. That Jesus Christ provides the answer to the great questions concerning human life and its fulfillment, both in this world and ultimately in eternity. For this reason, the human person always remains the way for the Church and the heart of every authentic path of integral human development. Therefore, the Church cannot turn a blind eye to culture, because through it, man is more fully human. Precisely since culture calls to mind cultivate, just as the etymological roots that both words share suggest, we are rightly called to ask ourselves what it is that we are sowing today, what exactly is flourishing, and what is silently withering in our society. What values are we preserving, and which are we allowing to die? These are profound and necessary questions that cannot be ignored. In order to address these questions, it is necessary to have a social dialogue that can be likened to the art of building networks, which involves coming together, listening, dialogue, respect. In the various spheres of human activity, we must be mindful of the language we use, whether written, spoken, or imagery in the digital realm, because communication is never neutral. Every form of expression speaks and conveys meaning. It can wound or heal, shatter expectations, or open new horizons, sow division, or awaken hope in the possibility of building something genuinely human together. Thus, building networks is a dialogue among institutions which is centered on human dignity. This entails, for example, that the university not ignore the working world nor renounce the truth, that business not view the employee as just another factor in the equation of its interests, that art not be intended solely for the elite, that sports not be reduced to a spectacle or turned into mere business, and that technological progress take into account the elderly, the poor, and those without a voice.
Nuestra aportación al diálogo desde una visión
From a Christian perspective, our contribution to the dialogue concerning life recognizes that the Creator has woven human beings with threads of love, for they have been created in the image and likeness of God, who is love. Herein lies the foundation of inalienable human dignity, the absolute respect of which is the basis of dialogue. Second, building networks means creating together. Faith, Pope Benedict XVI affirmed, is a love, and therefore creates poetry and music. Faith is joy, therefore it creates beauty. We have all experienced something beautiful, so much so that it changed us from within. A song, a poem, a quiet church, a voice, a glance, or even a basketball game enjoyed with friends. It is no wonder then that the proclamation of the good news and the awareness that we are all brothers and sisters finds expression in the form of a saeta during Holy Week or in mystical poetry. Expression can also be found in the literary genius of authors such as Lope de Vega, Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross, Calderón de la Barca, or in the serene prose of Saint Thomas Aquinas, from whom we have inherited the beautiful hymns of Corpus Christi, which we celebrate today. All of this reveals the bond between the material and the spiritual that constitutes our existence. Third, building networks means to serve selflessly. An objective view reveals that men and women moved by faith have built hospitals and schools, begun initiatives of solidarity, and spoken with a language that adorns people with dignity. For this reason, we would do well to ask ourselves honestly if the world, and Europe in particular, would have forged its identity without that spiritual influence that has permeated its history. This is not meant to be provocative, but rather an invitation to consider whether eternity, which burst into time and space through the incarnation of Jesus Christ, can still be reconciled with everyday life. Is it seriously possible to believe that Europe, which we deeply love, would be the same without the influence of faith? Why should we fear that eternity permeate everyday life? The cry of my predecessors lives on. Do not be afraid. Open wide the doors to Christ. Jesus Christ takes nothing from us and gives us everything. I ask myself, who are the ones being excluded despite their virtues and abilities? We cannot ignore the fact that the condition of the poor is a cry that in the history of humanity constantly challenges our lives, our societies, our political and economic systems, and the Church. Indeed, Christ restores the common good to its rightful place as a wise arbiter who tempers the greed of some and nourishes the hope of others, while longing to save them all. This Church, an expert in humanity, although at times going against the tide, insists that the economic and institutional structures are just only to the extent that they serve the integral development of the person and promote the responsible participation of all. Finally, let me draw your attention to a world that, as you know, is no stranger to me, the world of sports. Consider how many of us learned to respect our opponents on the field rather than by listening to a lecture. How many athletes teach us to lose without hatred, to win without humiliating others, or to get back up after falling. Saint John Paul II, as an athlete and pastor, once said, "In these times, when unfortunately various forms of violence and thus of hatred tend to tear apart the fabric of social solidarity, you play your part in offering a shining example of cohesion, peace, and unity. In a word, of knowing how to be together." These words are even more relevant and timely now than when they were first spoken.
Queridos amigos,
dear friends, I invite you then to be new protagonists for weaving new networks that harmonize all areas of life, to weave a renewed society where time is imbued with eternity, culture safeguards memory and fosters dialogue. Education promotes the search for truth with a critical spirit. Art awakens wonder and generates noble emotions. Business recognizes the dignity of the person, and work remains a source of hope. Let us be new protagonists by heeding St. Paul's counsel. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. Do not repay anyone evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. If it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. For all this determines whether in the future of our humanity and all its grandeur will continue to shine forth. Thank you very much. Mis ojos en Jesús. And thus it appears that the meeting, the event, weaving networks with the worlds of art, culture, economy, and sports is coming to an end. Pope Leo XIV has had a full day in Madrid today, his second day in Spain for his apostolic journey. And he is receiving the applause and the affection of a huge audience here in the Movie Star Arena. Tomorrow, Monday the 8th, marks Pope Leo's last day in Madrid. And for the first time ever, a pope will address Spain's Congress and Senate. Before meeting, he will also meet with the bishops and with the diocesan community. Back to the movie star arena. Thank you, Holy Father, for your presence. Thank you for this encounter and for helping us remember that a society truly grows only when no one is left behind.
Esperanzadoras a esa pregunta que usted nos lanza y que nosotros recogemos. ¿Qué herencia dejamos al futuro?
Sí, también con ese reto que mencionaba,
de
tejer redes entre diferentes ámbitos de la sociedad, precisamente para que...
Thank you for reminding us that all the different sectors of society, those who educate, research, create, work, care for others and build community every day are equally part of society, and if they can come together to weave collaboration, they can build community every day.
En este espacio de la búsqueda lo hacemos con una canción de Rosalén que
We're going to listen to the singer Rosalind,
en la búsqueda, incluso en la incertidumbre, puede encontrarse ese atisbo de esperanza.
Who is going to
Adelante, Rosalén.
Give us a song about hope and the future. Adelante, Rosalind.